Good evening, everybody. Special Counsel Robert Mueller has found absolutely no evidence of any kind of any wrongdoing whatsoever. That's our headline. And the next headline, his witch hunt persists. The president's legal team is now apparently talking about a possible interview with the special counsel. The president and the special counsel could sit down apparently at some point within the next several weeks. Our special guest tonight is Congressman Ron DeSantis. He says the Mueller special counsel is infected with bias and must be shut down altogether. Also tonight, some progress in the efforts to purge the deep state Department of Justice. The Justice Department official who was demoted last month because of his contacts with the smear merchant Fusion GPS has, we have learned, been demoted for a second time. Demoted, I will point out, he has not been fired. Why? We'll take that up here tonight. Bruce Ohr is no longer the head of the Organized Crime and Drug Enforcement Task Force, though he still works for the Department of Justice. Some would ask, why is he still there? We'll have the latest. And President Trump today working hard to bring prosperity to all Americans. The president traveling to Nashville to speak to the American Farm Bureau and sign a new executive order that expands the internet in rural areas. I'll take all of that up with Ed Rollins, Byron York, here later in the broadcast. We begin tonight with our top story. Fox News confirming that the president's legal team is considering a possible interview with Trump and special counsel Robert Mueller. The president addressed Mueller's failed investigation into alleged Russia collusion over the weekend at Camp David.
Sort of like when you've done nothing wrong, let's be open and get it over with. Because honestly, it's very, very bad for our country. It's making our country look foolish. And this is a country that I don't want looking foolish. And it's not going to look foolish as long as I'm here. So we've been very open, and we just want to get that over with.
And options being discussed include an in-person interview of the president, written responses to questions that would be submitted by Mueller's investigators, or an affidavit signed by the president stating his position on the case, or nothing at all, perhaps. Our first guest tonight says, don't jump the gun. There are other solutions. He says Mueller is setting a trap and that President Trump should not agree to an interview with a special counsel or his team. Joining me now, Congressman Ron DeSantis. He's a member of several key committees, including Foreign Affairs, Judiciary, Oversight, a member of the Freedom Caucus, and also, as of this week, a candidate for governor of the great state of Florida. Great to see you, Congressman. We appreciate it.
Good evening, Lou.
Let's begin with this discussion of the president sitting down, and as you just heard the president, a heartfelt statement that he wants to get this thing resolved. He says that the country looks foolish. I think it's even worse than that. I mean, 5 committees and a special counsel without a crime, without any evidence of a crime to begin with, and none now. It's extraordinary.
5 committees, special counsel, and then the investigation that was almost a year before the special counsel, the Comey investigation, the Peter Strzok investigation, the Bruce Ohr investigation, and yet you have all these people who've been trying desperately to find evidence of collusion, and they haven't been able to do it. So clearly we're at the point now where they don't have a collusion case. This obstruction case, to me, is even weaker because the president, he can fire Comey for any reason he wants to. That is the power of the commander-in-chief under Article 2. So the question is talking to Mueller, what does the president have to gain? And I don't think he has anything to gain. Mueller doesn't have a case. I would just say, okay, put up or shut up at this time. And if you look at what this investigation's really been about, it's been about either unrelated offenses to the campaign, like Paul Manafort, or process crimes like Papadopoulos and like Mike Flynn, with no underlying misconduct. And I just think that if you have some of these anti-Trump prosecutors go in and they get him to say something that's immaterial, but then they say, oh, well, there's a document that conflicts, you know, you made a misstatement. I don't see why you would want to do that.
Yeah, nor do I, Congressman. In fact, I don't understand why Hillary Clinton isn't right now the target of Robert Mueller's investigation. There is all sorts of a priori manifest evidence of collusion between the Clintons' corrupt empire, if you will, whether it be the Clinton Foundation, whether it be the Clinton emails, and collusion with the Russians, whether it's putting classified passwords and documents in the clear for Russian agents, or whether it is pay for play at the Clinton Foundation. It's not a very complicated matter. $145 million goes to the foundation, and the Obama administration, with the approval of the Secretary of State, proceeds to deliver 20% of U.S. strategic assets of uranium.
Well, the interesting thing about the foundation is, you notice, since she lost the election, you don't have millions of dollars flowing into the foundation like you did when she was in office, or a putative president. So to me, that says a lot. Don't forget, Lou, we've talked about false statements with people like Papadopoulos and Flynn. Remember Hillary's false statements before the Congress when she testified before Benghazi. She said that there were no classified on her email. False. She said she turned over all work-related email. False. She said her attorneys went through each email individually to determine whether it was work-related. That was false. And of course, we know she deleted 30,000 emails that were under a congressional subpoena, and then they bleach bit the server so that it could be unrecoverable. And that's, I think, the thing that bugs me about watching what's going on with the special counsel. You saw none of the ferocity that you've seen knocking down Manafort's door, or doing the Flynn false statement with Hillary. It was almost like they were bending over backwards to clear a path for her exoneration.
What do you think of Manafort's suing the special counsel, that he's gone beyond his original mission as laid out as special counsel, has been abusive of his powers without question in the minds of Manafort and his legal team? Your thoughts?
I'm not sure that the lawsuit is going to succeed for procedural reasons, but I think the core criticisms, I think, are valid. It really goes back to Rod Rosenstein's order. He invited effectively a fishing expedition because he didn't identify a crime in the order. He didn't put limitations of scope or duration, and that's, I've been saying from day one, you have to have that to prevent it from being a fishing expedition. So I think it has exceeded its mandate. The problem is it's much easier to cure that by just having the deputy AG do his job than hoping that this far-flung lawsuit is going to succeed. I don't think it will succeed.
I want to go to Bruce Orr and the deep state within the Justice Department, which I have called for, as Congressman, I think you well know. I have called for a cleaning of that corrupt top layer and go deep as necessary within the Justice Department and the FBI, because this is horrible. Bruce Orr is stripped of yet another title, his organized crime and drug enforcement task force duties. This is the second time he's been demoted because of his conduct and his relationship to Fusion GPS, the smear merchant that put together that discredited dossier on President Trump. Why doesn't the man get fired for this kind of conduct? Why isn't there more gumption, guts, and a standard of ethics and integrity in the Department of Justice than this?
Well, there should be, but I think one of the things that's important to point out with Orr, he was not an Obama political appointee. He's what you consider a career person. And the media will always say that these career people are, by definition, nonpartisan. And that's not necessarily true. I mean, they're nominally nonpartisan, but many of them behave like Lois Lerner in the IRS in very partisan ways.
Let me be clear. He is one of those I refer to when I speak of the deep state. They are not necessarily flying any kind of flag, but if they were, their flag would be without question left wing, and there is no doubt of it.
So he is, think about this, you have in the middle of the election, he is having an unauthorized meeting. He's 4 doors down from Deputy AG Sally Yates. He goes and has the meeting with Fusion GPS, most likely because his wife was working to compile the dossier against candidate Trump. So he is engaged in an opposition research political
Fusion GPS.
Exactly. And they're trying to then provide a nexus from a Democrat-funded opposition research document to the Department of Justice and the FBI. He would not have been demoted had those meetings been authorized. And of course, he also met with Christopher Steele before the election, and then he met with Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS after the election. The question is, why would he do that? Was it to get the story straight? Was it to open a new round in kind of the collusion narrative? He is going to come now. Finally, he's going to be produced. He's going to be under oath. He is in store for a world-class grilling. It's going to be a long day here on Capitol Hill when he comes, but he's going to have to answer a lot of questions under oath.
Do you think we're going to see a world-class cleaning of that Justice Department, because it is rancid with corruption?
Well, we need, I mean, you know, or being demoted twice is good, but I agree with you, Lou. Okay, you're demoting these folks, but if they've behaved in ways that mean they have to be demoted twice, shouldn't they just find another line of work at that point?
For the good of the Republic. Congressman, one last question. As you know, the House Intelligence Committee receiving the bank records of Fusion GPS. How important is that decision? What do you expect to come of it?
Well, I'm not sure what necessarily is in there, but I can tell you this. Fusion GPS fought tooth and nail to keep those bank records secret. They did not want those coming out. So I think there's going to be things in there that surprise us. But this Fusion group, you know, they're involved in all kind of nefarious activity. It's really gutter politics. And I think you're going to see some unseemly relationships exposed when those become public.
Cannot wait for that exposure. Thanks so much. Congressman Ron DeSantis, as always, thank you.
Thank you.
Congressman DeSantis, one of the bright young leaders of the Republicans on Capitol Hill. We're coming right back. Much more straight ahead. Stay with us.